Yo ho ho, welcome to my YouTube channel. I feel like talking about perfume, so I'm gonna hit play or record. So I wanted to do a follow-up. Not that I have any other concrete developments in my Grand Amour saga. So the last video that I posted was about rediscovering this little beauty, this nugget, this thing that is so beautiful. Can you even see? This bottle was pretty full when I got it just a week ago, or maybe a little over a week ago. I'm wearing this nearly constantly. Today I took a break and tried a different perfume, but look at that. Look at that dent. It's 50 ml bottle. Got a dent in a week. Never happens. But I also, so as threatened, as promised, I did go out and buy a few backup bottles of this sucker because I really like it. I got this EDP. I got 2 other bottles of the EDT, which is what this is. And last time I was talking about how I didn't understand the different note listings on the different websites for Grand Profumo. They seem different. I mean, essentially, I guess they were the same. There was an amber base with hyacinth and some other notes, but those other notes didn't really jive together. And I kind of figured out why. So one of them, I don't remember which at this point, was listing jasmine and leather and mimosa, and I don't think I was getting any of that in here. This EDP, I understand. It is definitely an indolic. I don't necessarily smell indolic jasmine, like the pinnacle of whatever indolic jasmine you think of in your mind is. Pinnacle's not the right word, but I can't think of the right word. But it's definitely indolic. And at first I was like, because I smelled it the first time I sprayed it, and I was like, well, maybe this is because it's, an old juice and nobody sprayed it for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But I sprayed it a couple more times and it still kept that, like I said, indolic character. So I guess that's the reason for the different note listings. But honestly, I still can't wrap my head around what makes this so special. So yes, we know I like honeysuckle, and there is a bit of a honeysuckle note to this sucker in both of them. But there is something, I mean, what did I call it last time? I was like saying, oh, it was majestic. It was like rooted down to the center of the earth. There's something so, I cannot wrap my head around the description of what this really does to my nose, especially because quoting hyacinth and lily, I mean, I get it. There's that round amber vanilla base. I mean, you can see the juice color. I mean, the vanilla is turning for sure. And I think it potentially always is this color. So maybe it's not. Anyway, but there's an amber base to it. Now I've got several lily perfumes, which makes sense because I do like white florals, and lily can be quite white floralish. And I always think of white florals, like I never understand what people are put off by them. But I always think of them as like rotund in a way. Like that, it just explodes in your face. But it doesn't do that. It doesn't read that way to me. And then I'm thinking of like Sergio Tan Unli, which also has that vanilla amber base. And that's just that lily thing with vanilla. But that's not what gives this majestic whatever. I don't know. I'm still working my way through. Hopefully one of these days I can figure out what's creating the joy that this stuff brings to me. But until that day comes, I will continue to wear it. But it's interesting because, so I was looking at the hyacinth note in particular and the lily, and I thought of the fact that I have this sucker. It's been in my closet for, I don't know, since last winter probably, so at least 6 months, if not longer, maybe shorter, I don't know, somewhere around that time. So this is Jacques Lilas Exquise. And so this is the lilac perfume. So, but it also has, I always think I remember Tara Wong talking about a screechy hyacinth up top. I don't get the screech in this sucker. I do love this. This was one of, so earlier this year, I was all into like, just find me some pretty water and put it on my body. And this was one of like 3 or 4 that was my go-to that were my go-tos for a while. I just think this is pretty water. But this is more of what I think of hyacinth, and like I think of them as more like ethereal kind of perfumes, right? It's just light and breezy. Now this doesn't have an amber base at all. This is much more of a white musk base. And musk can read differently, right? There's the, I always call them oppressive musk. This isn't oppressive in any way, that's musk. It's very, again, light and airy and ethereal. But it just goes to show you, like, based on the note listings, I would expect this to smell more like this does. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I want to share one other perfume really quickly. So for some reason, these Astier de villatte perfumes I keep in their boxes. All the other bottles I have to take out and just take them out of their boxes, and I store the boxes in the storage that I have outside my unit. But so this is, sorry if I didn't say, this is mantes de Jolie. I don't know how to pronounce it. This is weird to me because, so first off, the mint. So whenever people talk about their mint fragrances, I never truly get mint. I mean, I might get, you know, a little bit aromatic something, but I don't get mint. Now this also has eucalyptus, which will clear out your nose. But when you spray this, when I spray this, it is full blast mint in my face, which is really delightful. Like really delightful. I don't know. I don't think it's toothpaste mint. I don't know. I haven't smelled toothpaste mint in a while. I used other flavored toothpaste. But I find this, it's weird to my nose because, so you would think that this being an aromatic, I've heard a couple people, it's not very widely talked about, this brand or this juice in particular, but it comes across not as very green to me. It does a weird, it does the same thing that Lanvin's Oxygen does. Now, I haven't smelled that in like 4 years, potentially. I did a swap with somebody for samples, and I got a sample of that. And that one was so weird because I always thought of it as a milky ocean kind of accord thing. And I don't know if it's because of this freaking juice color, because I think, yeah, Oxygen is the same way. But I really didn't, Lanvin's Oxygen, I haven't thought about that one in a while, but it gives the same weird milky ocean accord, whatever it is, and nothing in its note listing, no combination of anything that they list. Like it's supposed to be mate and bergamot and ginger. Like I didn't see anything. There's supposedly some jasmine in here. I don't really smell that, but it's my scent of the day. This is what I've given myself a break from this Grand Amour. But anyway, I'm really digging this one. It's so strange to me. And now I don't have to go get another bottle of oxygen because this one is done probably so much better than the other one, even though I remember liking it. I don't know why I never picked up a bottle. It's like a real cheapie. But I'd check this out if I were you. I don't think it's that expensive. I want to say I paid like $100 for this maybe. But, which in the grand scheme of perfume prices these days, it's not bad. But yeah, so that's my little update on my perfume life. It's so pretty. So I wanted to also, this is where it gets a little, not stupid, but I'm going to talk a little bit more it's not even highbrow, but I wanted to respond to Wendy, because she had made a comment in her last video about how she didn't feel so connected to her perfume. And I, of course, have been in that state for a while now, like a long while, at least half a year. And my great epiphany, you know, over the last couple of weeks have been, oh, I'm disconnected spiritually from my perfume, because I've been physically disconnected, because I can't very easily get into my perfume in my closet anymore. But and that seems like a cheap answer, or maybe it's a self-imposed subconscious answer, because I didn't like where I was with my perfume. Because if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that how long have I been talking about friggin' just the perfume addiction that I've had, right? And it's all about like, oh, this is a good week because I didn't spend anything. Oh, I fell off the wagon and now I bought 10 bottles. Like, everything revolved around buying more. And I guess trying to think through where my head is in this whole passion that I have, waning passion. For a while there, I thought I was just going to give it up, but I don't think I do. I think I want it to continue on in my life as being something that I care about. But so when I think back in history about like the progression of what perfume has been for me, so yes, I had some interest in it pre-COVID, but definitely when COVID hit, it was my, I don't know how to, like, it was my connection to the world. Like, I don't live with anybody, and I was physically blocked from even touching anybody, right? I physically wasn't even able to touch anybody for such a long time, and I was in some ways I was disconnecting with the world, and somehow like going to perfume was a way to like get to reality in a way, keep hold of like what is real, like what actually exists out there outside myself. And so it was almost like, you know, it's that whole lizard brain kind of conversation. But you know, I was trying to hold on to, you know, myself in this world, and through smell, through some basic function of the human body. And then it kind of morphed into, well, didn't morph. It just was, I want more of that, even after we came out of COVID. You know, it took years, really, to get through that. And then it just turned into my normal, like, oh, I'm going to be obsessed, because I do that normally. When I have interest, I kind of can be obsessed about them and throw myself at whatever topic is interesting. You know, when I was a basketball player, I played 6-7 hours a day for years. And that was 30 years ago at this point. But you know, everything that I do it with passion. And so, unfortunately, it costs money to do that, and so I was spending a lot of money. So it turned into a consumerism like battle I had with, and then it was also almost like, what's the word? How do I say this? Like, I was trying to like get in touch with humanity in a way, because, oh, I want to have an addiction. Ooh, I'm going to learn how to be a human by having an addiction. Which was the buying addiction of buying the perfume all the time. Oh, yes, hit the adrenaline, you know, release the dopamine or whatever, adrenaline, blah, blah, blah. And so that's where I had been for the last 2 years. Honestly, I think a good portion of the time I've been posting online has been during that time frame when I was just so freaking obsessed with how much I spent and what, you know, how many bottles I was buying or didn't even realize, blah, blah, blah. And I thought I was getting past that because I had been disconnected from my perfume and I stopped buying. But then when I brought out all these annick goutals from my closet and I was like, oh, I remembered how great they were. And then, of course, I had to go buy. And I bought like 10 bottles of these friggin' things. I don't actually know the exact number, but it was a lot of freaking perfume, right? So it's still connected in my brain, this whole like addiction, consumerism bullcrap. And that's kind of, and I don't want to be here anymore. Like I don't need anymore, right? I really don't need anymore. I think, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do going forward and how I'm going to rearrange my closet so that I can more easily get to the perfume and more easily, but I don't know if I want to, like, because I usually branch or bracket all my perfumes by house, but maybe it should be more like, ooh, the winter versus the summer fragrances. Maybe it's all the citruses together. Maybe it's, I really don't know. It seems like there's not that many different permutations of how I can arrange stuff, but I think there might be if I can get a little nuanced about how I'm going to go forward. And I haven't figured that out yet. But I wish I started this video talking about these two different perfumes, like, you know, have similar notes, but they're vastly different in how they perform. And I guess I want to maybe hone in like the comparison of what I have, because I've got so much that I can compare each other off of. And it's just like, I really don't need any more perfume, regardless of what I do with it. Maybe the next iteration is to just cull out what I don't need. Now, I know that's a dangerous tack, because I know I've personally seen where I haven't touched bottles in years and I go find it and I'm like, oh my God, so great. And so I'm so happy I never got rid of them. So I don't know. I'm all over the place because I'm really all over the place in my thinking on the subject. But what I do know is I watch people out there, and the reason why, like, for the most part, I've stopped watching a lot of perfume talk, but I used to think that it was always infinitely interesting to me to watch different people and how they relate to their perfumes. I can think of, like, I know one person out there who's completely interested in perfume as it relates to the opposite sex. And at first I found it crass, but I still find it interesting. Crass in a way, it's like, oh, it's just about smell being, you know, we talk about the lizard brain, smell being carnal, and like you're just taking the smell of a perfume, substituting for the smell of, like, you know, female or bodily emanations, or like that's why it seemed crass to me. But at the same time, it's fascinating to me that is a driver in somebody and how they relate to perfume, because for me it's completely personal. Like, completely personal. Like, the only reason I care about anybody else in regard to perfume is I don't want to be insulting, particularly at work. But if I didn't have to worry about that, I wouldn't care. Like, I would not care whatsoever. But it's fascinating to see this person interested in that. Or relate through their perfume. And then other people, like, they love just, you know, if they have a big closet, they love just sorting their perfumes out and listing them by notes, right? Like, and that's how it's almost like there's, human brain is so, like, we like to put stuff in lists. We like to categorize stuff. And so these people who do a lot of the lists, and I don't think it's just for views, because, like, I don't generally watch people who are just trying to be influencers or trying to make money off the internet, right? I try to find people who are deeply and who love the hobby, right? So it's just, I personally have to figure out my relationship in a way that's, it has to go on from here. But I don't need to buy anymore, because you know, this thing is like, you know, it would be cheesy for me to say, oh, I found my holy grail, you know, it's a scent memory that I was capturing from 20 years ago. You know, I've got, how many of these do I have in the closet, right? FOMO doesn't have to be, FOMO's boring to me almost, but I know it's been driving me, as it does a lot of us. But I think of FOMO in comparison to some of the booktube that I watch. You know, how did we find our list that we wanted to go read from, right? Like I don't know, New York Times bestsellers or hoity-toity like Booker Prize nominees, or we're always, or what's in the canon, so the canon must be good, right? And so it's always like, you're always looking to find what the best is out there. And it's like, there's always a FOMO of, well, I need to make sure that I'm exposed to the best. And I think of that because it's the same way with perfume. It's like, oh, what's the best out there? I don't want to miss it. And yet, I'm pretty sure nobody likes this stuff. Not nobody. I mean, I'm just saying, it's not highly priced compared to some of the other annick goutals I was looking at, right? So it's like, I think this is nearly the pinnacle of my collection, and yet other people don't like it. So it's like, FOMO, I don't know. I just, particularly because I have a lot already, right? I get it. If I only had 2 or 3 and I wanted to go out and find good stuff, then maybe I'd be on the hunt. And is that the only reason why people watch these videos? I don't think so. I mean, for me personally, it's a people watching aspect that I like to do. I like to understand people's motivations and why they do anything in life. So I can understand humanity. So that's my quest in this whole perfume, is to understand humanity, is to hold on to humanity, is to hold on to what it means to be alive and living in the world, which is, I know, sounds stupid and pompous and whatever, but my next, whatever iteration of this world that I continue to want to inhabit, I need to make it about some, sorry, this was off the cuff. I did not realize it was going to go down here, but I think that is what, for me, it is. How smell, and like, it just is in our DNA almost. I mean, I don't care about the biology side of it, honestly, but how it manifests itself and why perfume is important. So I'm gonna somehow incorporate that thought, like try to bring it to the fore as far as how I go about transitioning from this FOMO consumeristic addiction phase of this perfume buying into something else. It needs to morph. I'm always impressed by people who are they touch their perfumes all the time, right? Like when you see them on camera, like they just pick them up and they just smell. I never, unless I'm wearing my perfume, it just stays in my closet. And I'm in some ways not jealous, generally not a jealous person, but I find that fascinating. That their visceral isn't just in the smell molecules, their visceral is in touching the bottle. I like that. I think that's kind of cool. So funny, because I keep this in a box, but maybe I need to not. Maybe because it is a unique kind of box. I like that. So I don't know. I'm just yammering now. Wendy, I hope you figure out your avenue into getting into your love again. I think we're both in the same state as far as like, thinking that, if we just can figure out how we arrange our bottles, and it's just so overwhelming to think about, so we don't do it, so we just leave it. At least I've just left it back there because it's just so overwhelming. I don't think that's gonna fix the love or the not love. I think you have to find your own path And because you're a little bit cerebral, like I am, I think you have to find a cerebral path. And everybody's different. And that's the beauty of perfume, in my mind, is that everybody has a different relationship with it. So, and I don't know what my path is necessarily going to be, but anyway, I've droned on and on and on. Droned? That might not be the right word. But anyway, go forth and prosper. I hope you'll have a great day. Doodles.